Well, good morning from the Hill. This is the Hill Homestead. It's Saturday, I believe it's the 23rd, and I need to start off this little chat with an apology. I said some videos ago that I'd be doing an add-on to my house, and Wiley from Work with Wiley came down and helped me, and we got it framed up and quasi dried in. Kind of ran out of money. I'm having to hold off a minute to get enough money to do the siding, but we got it wrapped with some vapor barrier and got a roof on it, and at least my lumber won't go to crawling back where it came from. But it has taken a lot of my time, coupled with the fact that last few days I've been feeling a little under the weather and kind of kept a low profile. But I'm going to attempt to do a video today, and it's going to be kind of a mishmash, if you will, a collaboration of different thoughts. Part of it on leadership, part of it on life, and hopefully it won't be too boring, and I'll get a decent amount of folks watching it. And who knows, it may help you through something, may help somebody you love through something. And by your comments, I might learn something that helps me. So let's get into it. I've been doing a series on leadership, and that's been the biggest part of my life, as I've explained many times. But it's kind of funny. I've been going through some things with my wife, Melissa, who's in a leadership position and has been for a year or so. And when she contemplated trying to achieve this position, I, of course, had lots of words of advice for her. I'm not sure if she listened to any of it, but one of them was, babe, be careful what you wish for. And that would be my advice to just about anybody that wanted to go into leadership. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. Everybody thinks, if I get to be the boss, I can go around Glen Haddon and won't have a daily chores and stuff like that. And it's just not true. Nobody in your organization works as many hours than your leader does. So with that thought in mind, I was going to point out a few things that you might want to think about. Leadership is a quality that some say you're born with. I might argue that point a little bit, but it's certainly something you achieve with a certain amount of experience and knowledge and some of your own personality. It takes a certain personality to become a good leader. Now, it can have a diabolical personality to become a leader, but that doesn't mean you'll be a good leader. One of them that I think stands out to me as probably one of the most important ones is steadfastness. It's hard in these days, in these times, to be steadfast on anything. You certainly strive, and it's not that hard to be steadfast with your family, your wife and your children and your immediate family, mom and dad, whatever. It's not hard to stay steadfast on the rules that you govern your life by, because those are all pretty self-evident and pretty much something we do, as a daily recourse. However, when you become a leader, that steadfastness has to turn almost a complete 360 circle around you. You have to be steadfast in, first of all, your decisions. It's very important that once you make a decision and you feel that's the right decision, until something comes along and changes that, then you need to own that decision, and you need to be steadfast in carrying out the repercussions of that decision. So steadfastness is a very, very strong quality that one must possess. Right up there with it, and maybe even above it, I would say probably number one is integrity. You have to have integrity in everything you do. You need to tackle everything you do with integrity in mind. Integrity about what you do, how you live, how you treat people for certain sure, integrity on how you run that business or run that job you have, how you run that leadership position. You have to have a lot of integrity. When you lose integrity, eventually you'll lose your leadership. But before that happens, you'll hurt a lot of people in the meantime. We sometimes people lose the fact they get into leadership and they lose the fact of the value of the employees. That they may be the engine that supplies what it takes to run that company, but it's employees, the boots on the ground, the ones that turn a wrench, the ones that make an argument, the ones that read the law or anything that you can imagine around the spectrum. That's whose loyalty you should try to embrace. Be loyal to them, show them loyalty to the company. One of the worst things I think a leader can do, and it happens all too often because people are human, but you'll hear a leader chastising or talking down the company and or their boss perhaps. And when an employee hears that, it's very degrading. They may not think that much about it at that moment, but it's very degrading. It degrades their thoughts on the company and the leader. One of the things I heard not too long ago was someone was griping about their position, and the leader said, "Well, I agree. This is horrible." And you got to kind of think what kind of seed that plants. And if you think that person is going to keep that to themselves, you better think again. Something like that can go company-wide before you can even think about it. So you need to have integrity in what you say, how you act, how you disseminate policy or whatever. So I think integrity and steadfast are really, really important. Loyalty is certainly important. The ability to think around the corner, which this could be the hardest. In college they teach it as critical thinking. Out on the job say, we used to call it getting the job done, figuring it out. But you have to be able to critical think something, and that is you take a problem or an issue or maybe even something you're thinking about rolling out, and you've got to be able to look at that not on its flat scale where you read, but you have to look at it in, I guess the easiest way to say it is in a 360 motion. You have to be able to look at it, look at the intricate parts of it, and then turn it around and look at the backside, what you believe will be the outcome. That's called critical thinking. There's an old saying about firemen, policemen, anybody that's first responder, soldiers, that they run into a burning building or a hazardous area when everybody else is running out. And that's kind of the same way, on a different scale, obviously, that a leader needs to perform. They need to be the ones that keeps their mind when everybody else is losing theirs around them, to be able to slow their mind down enough to look at the problem, find a solution, look on the backside, see the solution work, and then put the steps in place to make it happen. So critical thinking is certainly a big part of it. And it's so funny. You'll hear me say, well, I think the most important part, or an important part, and the truth of the matter is they're all important. All of them are more important than the other one at a given instance. So they're kind of interchangeable, and but you do have to possess them, all of these traits. You have to have a certain amount of you that has compassion for fellow man. Compassion for what people go through. My wife got a call the other night that one of her staff members had a tragedy happen in their life with their family members. And, I thought my wife was going to weep. And it made me so proud that she was able to sympathize or empathize, either one, with this employee, which helped her make the decision of how to help this employee quicker and easier on all parties. So you have to be able to have some compassion for your employees. Now, you want to have something really hard, try to have some compassion for the company. It's hard to do. I mean, they're writing the words and carrying it out. Sometimes you have to have compassion for your company, of what your company is going through, what the people above you are struggling through. There used to be an old adage, if a worker bee has 10 problems, a supervisor has 20. If a supervisor has 20 problems, a manager has 30. If a manager has 30 problems, a leader has 60. If a leader has 60, the people above him, and it just goes on and on and on. So just, never lose sight of the fact that while you may be struggling, your staff are struggling. And many times your company and the people that pull the strings ahead above you, they're struggling too. And that's why I say compassion is a very big and integral part of being a leader. I think one of the hardest things to do is, also one most important, is don't lose sight of self. Don't lose sight of who you are. You did something that got you to this position. Don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of the fact that you're who you say you are and your authentic self. I don't make friends very easy. I love people. I'll talk to anybody. I'll sit down and have an hour conversation with anybody. But I don't surround myself by a lot of friends. I have a lot of acquaintances. But to me, friendship is such a strong word and such a feeling evoking term that I tread kind of lightly. But once I have a friend, I'm stuck to them like glue. I'm their back, their front, whatever they want, whatever troubles they have, they're my troubles. And which rolls back to being yourself. I had a gentleman I off and on called friends for the last 3 or 4 years. I noticed not too long ago that he wasn't coming around. He wasn't calling. I'd try to call and couldn't get a hold of him. And finally, just confronted him with, what's going on? Did I do something to upset you? And he said, as a matter of fact, you did. He said, you've become friends with some people that I don't believe in, and I don't appreciate, and I don't approve of. And I won't be friends, won't talk to you anymore, won't come by anymore as long as you're friends with those people. And while that saddened me, it kind of enraged me a little bit too, because who is another person that can tell us to not be ourselves? Who has that right to tell you that you being yourself, true to who you are, living your truth, is not acceptable? Well, my advice is get away from that quick. And that happens so often in our workplace. Someone has a beef with you, a problem with your friends with Dolores or Johnny or Jimmy or Jake, and because of that, you must not be that good a person. That's a hard life for them to live, judging everybody like that. However, you can't let that change who you are, be who you are. If you cannot be your authentic self, and I think this statement, while it sounds contrite, I think it's true across the board in a person's life. If you cannot be your authentic self because somebody else doesn't appreciate your authentic self, get away from them. Don't ever lose sight of who you are. Never lose sight of your authenticity. Life will be much easier for you. I wish sometimes that I could go back to my in my leadership experience and tweak a few issues I might have had back then, but I can't, and neither could you. So by being your authentic self, hopefully you'll keep that type of an issue in the background, not the foreground. Another thing a leader really truly needs to work on is what's right in front of him. Sure, we have to worry about what's happening a month, a year, or 6 years from now. A leader has to be able to plan through that, what ifs. But he also has to be able to give his full focus to what's right in front of him. Because what's in front of him is what's going to enable people to go forward or not. So, know yourself, know your value, be authentic, and think about some of the traits. You've probably had leaders, and there's more of them that will come, but you've probably had leaders in the past where you could point a finger out and say, yeah, that guy there, he met all those. Or that gal there, man, she didn't, all she was after was a buck. And that's another story down the line somewhere. So I hope everybody has a great day. Hope this wasn't too boring for you. Again, I apologize for missing the last two opportunities for a video, but everybody stay authentic out there. Use those leadership skills in your life, whether you're a leader or not. They'll work. They'll help you, I promise. From the Hill, I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.